Hi. Two questions. First, where does the law come from? That is, what is the source of the law? Second, what does citizenship law, like the Citizenship Act in India, actually do? We can begin discovering answers to both these questions from one concept, that is statehood. Let's say that I'm a citizen of India and that I live in India too. What if I decide that the Indian law doesn't work very well for me and that I would rather follow the Singaporean law? Can I not pick from various legal systems around the world? If the objective of law is only to secure order and justice, then surely I can pick the best available legal system. Do I not have this right to choose? The answer to this seemingly silly question, once again, points to the concept of statehood. What then is a state? The word state has three meanings. First, a state is a subdivision of a larger political entity. So, for example, when we refer to Madhya Pradesh or Meghalaya as a state, we are using the word state in this sense of the term. Second, the word state refers to a government. So, the emphasis here is on separating the state or the government from the people. So, when you go, say, to the road transport officer and you apply for a driver's license, the RTO there is the state and you are the citizen. That is an example of a citizen state relationship. Third, the word state refers to both the government and the people together. Therefore, second meaning of state plus people is equal to the third meaning. Why is it that the second and third meaning both exist? Don't they seem somewhat contradictory to each other? The answer is the second meaning arose from the perspective of citizens looking at their government, whereas the third meaning arose from people outside the country looking down into the country as both the people and the government as one. In this video, we are interested primarily only in this third meaning. Therefore, in this video, the word state and the word country mean pretty much the same thing. So, a state for today is a country. What then are the characteristics of a state? A state must have a defined population. It must have a permanent population. It must have a defined territory. It must have a government. And it must have the capacity to enter into relations with other states. But the most important or characteristic feature of a state is sovereignty. What is sovereignty? Sovereignty is the ability of a state to define its own laws and policies, the ability to enforce the law, and the ability to punish violators of the law. Now, let's say I belong to a family of three and that I live in a house I own on a 30-40 plot, say in Vishakhapatnam, which also I own. What prevents me from declaring this plot as an independent state? It will have a permanent population, which is the three of us. It will have a defined territory because the plot itself is territory. It will have a government, I will be the government. And I can also enter into relations with other foreign states. Why then should I not actually declare this plot or house of my own as a separate state? The answer again is sovereignty. If I declare it as a separate state, do you think the Indian state will take it lying down? I'll have the Indian governmental authorities and the police on my property in no time, and all these fanciful ambitions I had of having a country of my own, I think will last just about one afternoon. So ultimately, the creation and existence of states does not depend on any law permitting or prohibiting it. It is simply a game of politics and power. If I, with my army of three and with my 1,200 square feet of territory, can successfully resist the force of the Indian state, then I will become a state. So, whether something is a state or not is not a legal question. Now, if I declare my 30-40 plot as an independent state, but then nobody pays attention to me, and everybody treats me as if I'm an Indian and treats my plot as if it is Indian territory, then does my state exist at all? In other words, are states merely states of mind? Throughout history, we have seen many groups of people assert and declare that they have themselves constituted independent states. But very rarely have we seen our world maps or atlases change to recognize the existence of these states. That is ultimately the bottom line, recognition. A good example is Taiwan, also called the Republic of China. It sounds like a state, it feels like a state, everybody thinks it's a state, but only some countries actually officially recognize it, and some countries don't. If everybody recognizes you as a state, then you are a state, because that means you have the power to hold your own against other states. That means you have power and you have sovereignty. Remember, however, that the recognition of a government is very different from the recognition of a state. Afghanistan is a recent example where the continued existence of the state is not doubted, but an existing government was overthrown and a new government took its place. The question for other states today, therefore, is whether or not to recognize this new government. There is no real law governing how other states will treat you. If a state is powerful, or at the very least, if a state projects power, then other states will treat you as a state. If a state does not do so, then their recognition will come under threat. When a state is formed, there is an agreement of sorts between the people of the state. We come together and agree that this is what we will do to create the laws of the state, these are what will be the laws of the state, and this is what we will do to enforce the law and punish the violators. But for that to work, and for us to remain powerful and retain sovereignty, we need to stick together. To do that, we also need to make some compromises. We forego some social and cultural bonds. We give up some individual freedoms because we see our interests best served in staying together for the bigger picture. If we can do this and stay strong and stay together, our state becomes strong too. On the other hand, if we don't stick together or if there's a strong enough rebellion, this social contract breaks, the legal system weakens, and the state itself may collapse. It is this social contract that requires me to follow the Indian law and not the Singaporean law. So a state is a club. And like a club, it has rules. Sure, a state has laws that govern specific subjects like crime or taxation or labor. But these are not the laws that govern the state itself. These are the laws that the state made. To put it differently, these are not the laws of the club, they are the laws of the badminton court in the club. So, what are the laws that define and govern the existence of the state itself? In a republic, this is a constitution. So, a state is a club, but what do I have to do to become a member of a club? Thank you.